Hello and welcome to another episode of Full Tuck, the Wingspan podcast with me, Aidan.
And with me, Adam. It's nice to see your face again.
Yeah.
You've stepped back in for Jeff, who kindly stepped in for me last week, didn't he? Prevented me from doing Half Tuck, the Wingspan podcast.
Yeah.
Although I suppose today was nearly Half Tuck, wasn't it? If you've just seen the coughing fit I've just had off screen.
Oh, I know. Adam quietly dying before we try and record. It's a terrible introduction.
There is one thing I will never quietly die. If I'm dying, you will know. I will be making a scene about it. There will be nothing quiet about me going. So, but it's nice to see your face again, mate. I feel like I haven't seen you in a long time. You've been gallivanting around.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's been a few weeks since we've recorded. Obviously, great thanks to Jeff for stepping in last week. It was a brilliant episode. Obviously, he's the absolute king of Wingspan stats, isn't he? So to be able to bring that element to the conversation is amazing, and definitely something I can't do.
No, you obviously can. I did feel a bit bad for Jeff because I told him in advance. I said, we can talk about the fan expansions, we can talk about Americas. But that email that he'd sent us right when Americas came out with those sort of 5 predictions that he made, I'd sort of sprung that on him without warning him. So I did feel a bit bad because some of those predictions were a little bit spicy and some of them were quite, well, not controversial, but he certainly didn't hold his punches, did he? So I did feel a bit bad, but I thought he handled it really well. And obviously, congratulations to him on the pregnancy. It was great to have him on. We will have him on again, no doubt, should the need arise.
I echo that. Huge congrats to him on the pregnancy. I hope all goes well, Jeff. But yeah, I certainly think his prediction that the hummingbirds is not going to last and that it's going to be a fleeting thing that people eventually lose interest in. That is interesting, isn't it?
I know.
It definitely made me stop and think. Because again, and he drew comparisons with Duet, didn't he? And how I think, and again, we're making generalizations about our opinions on it, and I'm sure there are many people out there who really enjoy Duet and play with it regularly. But certainly for us, it was something that maybe played a couple of times, a handful of times, and then thought, do you know what, I probably prefer the normal end of round board. Although that being said, that conversation did actually make me think, maybe I should get Duet back out again and just try it.
I see what you mean. I mean, a couple of our friends play Duet, don't they, face to face? I was actually, I'll come on to this a bit later on, that Monster Couch data that we often refer back to, which is the data from 500,000 Wingspan plays, I was actually looking at this morning for a different reason. And Duet is played 8% of the time. So 1 in 11 games 12 games are Duet mode, with 81% being standard. So yeah, it's actually slightly more common than you think. I don't know what your opinion is. I think Hummingbirds is here to stay. I think pretty much everyone will adopt it. I know, interestingly, my family haven't adopted it. They play without all the time now.
Really?
Yeah, which is a real shame. But most other people I know have adopted it and are keeping it.
I think that any change that will essentially inflate scores and make it easier for people to play bigger birds and to get bigger scores and to have better engines is going to make the game more enjoyable and is therefore going to be adopted. It's positive reinforcement, isn't it? If you're introducing a change and then you're getting better scores with it, you're probably going to keep it, in my view anyway. So I think I agree. I think the majority of people will keep it and come around to, and it's almost like you said on your episode with Jeff, for you've played it so much now that when you play without it, it feels strange. It feels like you're missing an element of the game.
Yeah.
Which is, but then I can also see Jeff's point. I can see Jeff's point that it's, it maybe does make it, as we've said before, maybe does make it a bit easy to get those out of habitat resources and to accelerate.
Yeah, I just think so. I've always found Wingspan entirely relaxing, and that's what I love about it face to face. It's not a real head scratcher like some of the other board games that we play. You can sit down, you can have a nice relaxing time. There's no take that. There's no higher for your other players, is there? So adding the hummingbirds in makes it a little bit more complex. You need to assimilate that in your mind, and now that it is relaxing for me. But now when I go to just playing online without it, it really makes that. So it makes it quite simple going back to that. I would now call this base game, but even though it's not base game, it's just without hummingbirds. It kind of makes it even more relaxing because there's so many less things to do. That actually sounds quite arrogant. I didn't mean it. Came out completely the wrong way.
No. I know. I don't think it comes across arrogant. I think I know what you mean. It certainly turns it to. I think without hummingbirds, and quite a lot of the games I've played in person recently have been with people who are new to Wingspan, so we've played without hummingbirds, and it certainly does feel that you can kind of play without giving it too much thought most of your goes. You can you can pick your opening hand. You can be like, well, this is what I'm going to do, and you plan your goes ahead in advance, and it can be quite relaxing, as you say, because you don't really have to be constantly concentrating. But yeah, definitely with hummingbirds, I'm finding when I do play with them, you are concentrating. I really have to think about is this the best move given the hummingbirds? Actually, is it better to spin the chain? Is it, or it feels like playing birds as a go, whereas that used to be almost always the best thing to do if you could do it. It now is like, is it the best thing to do? Because you don't get hummingbird activation, but you obviously have to do it because otherwise, so yeah, I don't know. I think it adds a really interesting element, and I think you and Jeff dissected it really well last week.
Well, that's very kind of you. I'd say mainly Jeff dissected it, and I was just the conduit through which he was able to. What are these in-person games? Are you teaching the people of Fiji Wingspan or something then?
Yeah, I wish. Really wanted to. Unfortunately, we didn't quite have enough packing space in our bag to bring Wingspan with us. So for those who went away, my partner Ellie and I have just been on an unbelievable, once in a lifetime trip, really, where we've been around Tasmania, a sand island off the coast of Queensland in Australia called Kagari or Fraser Island, which is very kind of wilderness, very uninhabited island, lots of wildlife, and then a week in Fiji. We have played a lot of games, but sadly didn't quite have the space for Wingspan, so we've been playing a lot of kind of deck card games, classic card games, things like Gin Rummy, and then a very, very good 2-player game called Seven Wonders Duel. So it's the duel version of Seven Wonders, which is I couldn't recommend more, actually. I think it's a really, really cool 2-player game, lots of ways to win, and it's specifically made for 2 players. So it's a brilliant shorter, easier, lighter alternative to something like Wingspan. But of course, would never compete with Wingspan.
Aidan's submission for a commission for Seven Wonders Duel as well as Wingspan. Well done. That was smooth. I'll just call a spade there. Oh, very nice. And I presume full of birds the trip was.
Loads of birds. I mean, I was texting you about it as we were going, but I mean, the list of birds, I was keeping track of all the birds we were seeing, and it's crazy. I mean, we were going to particularly good places for it. Tasmania is an amazing kind of bird spotting place, really, and without even particularly trying, you just end up seeing loads of really cool birds. So I mean, a couple of highlights, saw some wild superb lyrebirds, which were really cool, just out on a walk.
So they're the ones that copy, aren't they? They're the ones that copy. So what sound were they making? Were they copying other birds in the area?
Sound. we just saw them rather than heard them, but we were on a walk up in up kind of a mountain, and they appeared, 2 of them appeared on a path, so that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
We saw we had we were in a camper van, and we had quite an early morning drive one morning, so it was kind of it was right at dawn. We're driving along the road, and we saw you see quite a few wedge-tailed eagles if you're kind of out of big towns and cities in Australia, but in Tasmania they have a kind of specific subspecies called the Tasmanian wedge-tailed eagle, and they're slightly bigger, they've got slightly different colouring, but interestingly they are really endangered compared to the kind of normal wedge-tailed eagle, which are not. So there aren't very many. We were looking up, I can't remember the exact number, but there really aren't very many breeding pairs left in the wild. And we saw one, which was very cool. So we saw it dining on some roadkill at the side of the road, but it meant we got right up close to him and saw him in all its glory, really. So that was pretty cool. And then he flew off and flew into a tree, so that was excellent. Lots of really cool, colourful birds. Well, yeah, it's part of it.
It's the dark side of nature, isn't it? Yeah, I'm quite happy with my birds just feeding from bird feeders. Yeah, to be honest.
So we saw some birds who are less dining on roadkill, but some really pretty, colourful birds. Things like eastern rosellas, which came right next to our camper van when we were in Tasmania. They were very cool. Green rosellas, they were everywhere. Really pretty, colourful, bright green, vibrant birds. So they were excellent. And then a couple of highlights in Fiji. A bird that's actually in your background at the moment in a picture is the sacred kingfisher. Looking around.
Which bird is that, Aidan? I still don't know. Is it that one, or is it that one, or that one? It's probably that one, isn't it?
No, the first one.
Oh, it's this one. Yeah. What's this one then?
I can't quite. Oh no, I think it is that one as well.
So are they both sacred kingfishers?
I think they're both kingfishers, but maybe you're right. Maybe the one the smaller one in your kind of teal background picture is a sacred kingfisher.
So that teal
the other one does look
background,
slightly different.
That's actually a birthday gift that Harriet got me for, I think, like my 20-somethingth, and she got someone to paint the birds from the game onto the T-shirt with with their capacity. Yeah, and their wingspan as well.
That's amazing.
But I was like, this is too nice a gift. I can't wear this. This is the nicest thing anyone's ever made. So instead we got it framed.
What if you ruin it?
Exactly. What if I like spill ketchup on it or mayo or something, and then it's just gone forever, isn't it? So then there's the little label is the in there. So that's actually a T-shirt. So if you ever were to come in my spare room, I don't know if you ever would. Actually, this is our recording room. This is our studio. Come to think,
it's not our usual recording studio. Yeah,
exactly. When we do come back face to face one day, this is where we're going to be. This is where you are. You should. This is where we cut our teeth, actually, isn't it? This is where we learned how to do this.
It is. Well, I feel ashamed that I didn't notice it before. Maybe I did.
Didn't we cut our teeth in your kitchen or something? For some stupid reason, we didn't realise we chose the most echoey place in your house to cut our teeth to begin. Yeah,
I think episodes 1 and 2. They maybe were in a kitchen, and then did we maybe do it in your living room once or twice?
We did then we did it on your landing about 4 times because we thought there was no echo in your landing.
Yeah, turns. I mean, again, this was part of our kind of learning curve for recording a podcast, wasn't it? Is you realise that no matter what you do, every room in the world echoes. You can see why.
Do you remember all the blankets that I'd be like putting up on in my room and the cupboard to try and absorb sound? And then people say the best thing to do is to do like a blanket fort. And I'm not doing a blanket fort. I can't fit in a blanket fort. You're Aidan, you're about 8 foot tall. How it's going to be like a blanket castle to make it work for you?
I know. You can see why sound engineers have a job, really, because there's obviously an art to it that we clearly haven't mastered.
If there's any sound engineers who are willing to work on our show for free, I will say it will be a volunteering role with excellent experience, and you can enter the hallowed Full Tuck Circle. Get in contact. We're fulltuckpodcast@gmail.com.
If you want to come to, you will have to work transcontinental, however, and set up recording studios both in Manchester, UK, and in Melbourne, in Australia. So it's a little bit of a distance.
With recording times that don't make sense in either time zone. We're going to have to. You have to be very flexible, very good at short notice work, and very tolerant of a couple of. We're technically in savvy, aren't we? As we've demonstrated for the first 20 minutes of every phone call ever that we do. Right, oh dear.
Oh dear. Anyway, but the trip was brilliant. Thanks. Lots of lovely birds. Yeah, the sacred kingfisher was really cool. It flew right up to our the doorstep of our little kind of beachside hut that we were staying on one of these Fijian islands.
I think kingfishers are my favourite birds. I think they are the most pretty birds going, and I've decided they're my favourites.
They're stunning.
Overall. Yeah,
they're stunning. They just really nicely flitter around. I was a big fan of the kingfisher. Big fan. Didn't find. I mean, I remember before I went away and we were talking about what birds I might see. And it said I was looking forward to trying to see a black noddy in Fiji, but unfortunately didn't see one of those, which was a shame.
Oh, I thought you said it was like the black noddy central of the world.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if I went that far, but I was expecting to see them and I didn't see them, which was a shame. Did see a lesser frigate bird, which was pretty cool.
Nice.
Flew overhead once.
How are you recognising all these birds? Because if that bird flies overhead, I'd have no idea that that's a lesser frigate bird. Did you take a photo of it or something, or did you have a guide, or what?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. So I do a few things. I use the Merlin app, which we've mentioned before.
Yeah,
the Merlin app is great, particularly for if you're kind of on a walk and you're hearing lots of bird sounds, and then it picks up to say you can hear this bird, and then you can kind of look around for it. Obviously, certain kind of bigger, particularly seabirds, because you can kind of see them in flight a lot of the time. You can either get a picture of them, or sometimes I just see their profile and I think, oh, it looks like it could be this that I recognise from the game, and then you look, have a Google of what that bird looks like, and that's how I identified the frigate bird anyway. And sometimes, in Tasmania, we went on like a boat tour around kind of one of the kind of coastal areas, which was very wet and windy, but very cool. And we came right up close to some albatross, actually, that were migrating through the area.
That is quite cool.
they were. I mean, they're very distinctive. You can see their kind of when you see them in flight, their shape and profile is very, very distinctive as they kind of glide around completely effortlessly. And obviously, they have this enormous, elegant wingspan. They're very, very, very cool indeed.
You are looking quite tanned, to be honest.
Thank you.
You caught the sun quite nicely. Not that you would believe it from how I look at the moment, but you've actually missed an absolutely belting April in England.
I've heard. I keep hearing about
this. There's been almost no rain, and so
Yeah.
I've been sat in what could be called the garden, just the opening where my back door opens, in the sun, and it has been glorious. May started a little bit more cloudy, but it makes me worry that we're going to have one of those terrible summers because we've had a brilliant spring.
Sometimes does happen in the UK, doesn't it? But it's interesting, isn't it? Because from what I remember, when I first came over to Oz, like the end of Jan, start of Feb, it was just the UK weather news was just wall to wall rain, right? It was like non-stop rain.
That's
when will the rain
Feb,
end?
though, isn't it? Yeah.
And then you get a load of sun. So
I know it's when England is sunny. It's the only time I really get patriotic about our country. You know how proud I am when it's sunny in England, about how good it is here. So it made me less jealous about when we had the occasional bird photos from you, that I was actually enjoying my 21 degrees with no wind.
That's not bad. That's pretty good for the UK.
Well, mate, it was phenomenal. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was too hot for me.
Particularly April. That's crazy. Crazy.
Exactly, yeah. Oh dear, right. Too much whittering on, isn't there? Shall we talk about some... But we're not going to get everything fit in today, are we? That we wanted to talk about. There's not a chance.
See, this is the thing. We just end up, normally when we're both in the UK, we see each other all the time. We chit chat and catch up, and we know what's going on. But these days, we record the pod, and it's also our chance to catch up. So
yeah,
but no, we have a job to do. We have a responsibility to our listeners. We need to talk.
Yeah, which we're not going to fulfil today, because we planned to do our opening hand, and because I'm sure many of you realised that we did the Q&A back to back, so we recorded them. Now 3 or 4 weeks ago that was, and then I recorded with Jeff actually the same day that we recorded the Q&A. So that day for me was that day, because the Q&A for me and Aidan took 3.5 hours to record, because Aidan's laptop had some almighty technical issues that day. That was, do you remember we thought we'd have to re-record the whole second episode?
I know.
For a while. That was still gives flashback. So it means we haven't actually done a recording for about 3.5 weeks now, and we've had some excellent feedback from the fans in those 3.5 weeks. Feedback about our Q&A sessions, feedback about some specific questions within the Q&As, and also feedback about the Jeff episode. And we kind of just wanted to talk about just a few of the emails that we've got in, which made us think a bit more about different aspects of our Q&As. And obviously we thought we'd do our opening hand, but we're just not going to have time to do all of that this time, are we?
No, well, look, let's see how we get on. Get on. We can
how
always
about I
bump
suggest,
something
Aids, let's start with an opening hand now, then, and then just see how we get through our fan responses. And to be honest, I reckon some of them will just have to move to next week. How does that sound as an idea?
That sounds great. Yeah, lovely.
So our opening hand for this week is a bit of a tough one. You have got so as a reminder, because I don't know if we do the reminders enough, you can always see links to the photos in the show notes at the bottom of the show, and also the opening hand will be on the screen right now if you are on video. Your opening hand this week is the yellow-rumped warbler. This only lives in the trees. It eats a witched grub or a wheat or a cherry. It's worth 1 point. It's a bowl nest with 4 egg capacity. It's a flocking brown power. When activated, tuck a card from your hand behind this bird. If you do, draw 1. Next is the sandhill crane. This lives in the wetlands or the grasslands. It eats 2 wheats and an anything. It's worth 5 points. It's a stone's nest with a 1 egg capacity. It's also a flocking when activated power. When activated, discard 1 wheat to tuck 2 cards from the deck behind this bird. We've spoken about these birds before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Right. Next is the tree pipit. That is from Birds of Europe fan-made expansion.
The European.
It only lives in the trees. It's eats a witched grub and a cherry. It's worth 4 points. It's a star nest. When activated, gain 1 witched grub from the supply. Other players may discard 1 egg to do the same. Next is the golden eagle. This lives in the wetlands or the grasslands. It eats 3 rats. It's worth 8 points. It's a platform nest with 1 egg capacity, and it's a when activated predator power. When activated, look at a card from the deck. If it's wingspan is less than 100 centimeters, tuck it behind this bird. If not, discard it. And then last is a new bird from the Americas expansion called the roadside hawk. It lives anywhere. It eats a witched grub and a rat. It's worth 2 points. It's a platform nest with 2 egg capacity, and it's a predator round end power. Round end, reset the bird feeder, cache all the rats and witched grubs from the bird feeder on this bird if available.
And then we've got some bonus cards. So the Grassland Ranger, which is consecutive birds in the grasslands with ascending or descending scores. 3 consecutive birds is 3 points, 4 consecutive birds 5, and 5 consecutive birds 8 points. And then the Wildlife Gardener, which is birds with bowl nests. 4 to 5 birds is 4 points, and 6 plus birds is 7 points.
And in the tray, the Kokoi heron, also from the Americas expansion, only lives in the wetlands. It eats 2 fish and a rat. It's worth 6 points, and it's a platform nest with 3 egg capacity. It's a predator when activated power. When activated, reset the bird feeder and cache 1 rat or fish from the bird feeder on this bird if available. Next is the Mississippi kite. This lives in the grasslands or the trees. It eats witched grub or a rat. It's worth 4 points. It's a platform nest with 1 egg capacity. It's another predator when activated power. When activated, roll all dice not in the bird feeder. If any are rats, gain 1 rat and cache it on this card. And lastly, the Eurasian nutcracker only lives in the trees. It eats a wheat. It's worth 5 points. It's a bowl nest with 2 egg capacity, and it's a brown when activated power. When activated, choose 1 to 5 birds in your trees. Cache 1 wheat from your supply on each.
There you go. And then we've got end of round goals. So round 1 is brown powers. Round 2 is birds in the wetlands. Round 3 is cards in hand. And round 4 is different point values on birds. There you go, an interesting one. And as a reminder, we are in a 3-player game and we're going second. So what do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I think difficult opening hand, especially given it's a 3-player game. 3-player game for me is the hardest type of game because you need to balance going for end of round goals with things like pink powers. So my approach would be different now we have Americas. Now we have Americas, I'm keeping Grasslands Ranger. So that's consecutive birds with ascending or descending scores in your grasslands. And it's for this point that I keep belting on about, and I'm sorry about it, is that your hummingbird should count for your bonus cards. And so if you end up with a hummingbird in your grasslands that's worth 0 points, it's then actually quite easy to get up to 8 points on that bonus card. I'm keeping the yellow-rumped warbler, the roadside hawk, and also the golden eagle. And what I'm doing first is I'm playing the yellow-rumped warbler. I'm then going to get some food, and I'm probably going to tuck the golden eagle, and that would be in exchange for a wetlands bird in the tray. So if the Kokoi heron is still there, then I'll tuck it for that. If not, a different wetlands bird. Absolute worst case scenario, I'd have to keep the golden eagle. Next, I'm popping whatever wetlands bird I get in the wetlands, and then lastly I'm getting the roadside hawk down in the grasslands. Because then the roadside hawk is worth 2 points. By the end of the game, I'll have a hummingbird worth 0 points in my grasslands, so I've already got 0-2, and then really you only need 3 more birds, which are worth more than 2 points in a row, to get you up to 8 points in that bonus card, which is actually quite an easy thing to do. And roadside hawk, I would never usually keep. So pre-hummingbirds I wouldn't keep because it's just getting you points, but post-hummingbird I'm keeping it for that exact reason. It's getting me points. I haven't even utilised my hummingbirds there, and I've kind of done that on purpose because it gives me flexibility as to what I need. Okay, do I need eggs? Do I need an extra card? Etc, etc, etc. Quite confident with that, actually. Yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, you sound like you'd actually thought it through, which makes a nice change.
That was just off the Swede, mate. That
completely
was
off the cuff, was it?
Fresh off the Swede, that was. Yeah. What about you?
I agree, it's tricky. So again,
it's not good, is it?
Regular listeners will know that I what I do try and do is have a look at the end of round goals, particularly in kind of 2 or 3 player games, and see where the synergy is.
Yeah, so, I've ignored them. Yeah.
So I initially thought
confidently ignored. Sorry,
there's not a lot of synergy there, I don't think. But actually, on second look, I think there is. I think if you build a wetlands chain here, then round 1, 2, and 3. But it's true, isn't it?
Have you seen that meme? Have you seen that meme? It's a video of a kid trying to put you used to have this game when you were a kid where you have to put different shaped blocks in different shape holes, okay, and the triangle can only go in the triangle hole, it can't go in the circle hole. But this video is, I think, every single block fits in the triangle hole, doesn't it? So this kid just keeps putting it in the triangle hole. That's you, with whatever the situation is, building a water chain, saying, oh, actually, I think there is some synergy right now.
What's this? Oh, I think this will suit a wetlands chain.
It's
What's
actually really...
this game? I think this will suit a wetlands chain.
That's really funny. I originally thought it wouldn't suit a wetlands chain, but now I think it will suit a wetlands chain. sorry.
Hey, look, don't change your winning formula. No, at
true.
all.
Carry on.
I also think the opening hand, I think the birds that you've got there's no real combinations there. So I think the only thing to really go off to help make your, and you could kind of go one of a couple of ways, really, couldn't you? Because the yellow rump warbler gives you a nice start for a forest chain. I think always having a tuck and draw in the forest chain is always a really nice way of starting, and it's cheap.
Especially with Americas. Especially with Americas, when you can get spare cards, it means you can tuck and draw much easier. Yeah.
So I was a bit in two minds as to whether to go yellow rumped warbler, tree pipit, and really go for a
Was that your impression of me?
Those in glass houses, I was going to say.
And I was saying, come and join the Roticism crew over there. we're calling. There's one other bird, Aidan. I've never mentioned this on the pod before, but there's one bird, and listeners will be able to email in. There's one bird that you keep doing that, but you can't pronounce the R in it. But I keep forgetting which bird it is.
Really? Oh, weird.
Yeah.
No way. Well,
there's one bird, and Paul, you will remember this, because every time you email in and go, because whenever this bird turns up in an opening hand, he always emails in and says, I really hope Aidan is about to say the wed-breasted blackbird or something. I really hope Aidan keeps it so that he says the wed-breasted blackbird.
Don't think it's very cool.
I mean, that
to
is
make fun of
cruel,
my
and those in
affliction.
glass houses should not. Yeah, also
I
a
think I
my
know the
speech
bird you
impediment
mean.
as well. So
I
I'm
think
sorry.
it's the superb fairy wren.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, it's the wen.
Because I've seen those emails from Paul, and don't think I haven't seen them, Paul. I'm on to you. I'm on to you both with your little scheme.
Seriously, we should not be making light of speech impediments. So
no, we absolutely
I'm sorry
shouldn't.
about that, Aidan, for distracting that.
Anyway, back to my opening hand. So what I'm going to do, I beat around the bush too much there. So I'm going to keep the golden eagle, the roadside hawk, and the tree pipit. I was a bit in two minds about whether to go in that direction or whether to keep the yellow rump warbler and go in the tree chain direction. But yeah, like I say, I think the end of round goals really suit a wetlands chain, so that's the direction I'm going to go in. I agree with the roadside hawk. I think it's like you'd hope to get 2 or 3 cached food each activation of that. So it's probably easily going to be a 10-point plus bird without even really trying if you get it down in round 1. I think that's quite a nice one. I think the tree pipit is nice because it's got a star nest, and ultimately as well, I think with its power, whilst it's kind of friendly, ultimately trading an egg for a witchetty grub is rarely a beneficial thing to do. So I think I've found whenever I've seen this in games, people don't tend to do it.
But it's also kind of powerful because it's like reverse powerful, because people always be inclined to take the benefit, which in my opinion, that benefit is a bad benefit, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And so it might actually be beneficial for you to remove an egg from them, even though they think it's a powerful play.
And I think with the golden eagle, I've kind of almost done a 360 on this bird. Interestingly, we've talked a lot about predator powers on the show and about how they've evolved and how they've probably become stronger over time. The golden eagles from the base game, ultimately, can you think of many other predator powers that have 8 points attached to them? So a really high point bird and quite a high percentage predator power activation. You can if you play this bird in round 1 and put it in a chain that you're activating a lot, it can easily get to 15, 16 points bird. It's really, I think it's really strong. So I'm going to keep I'm going to play the tree pipit first. I'm going to hopefully pick up some nectars or some rats to be able to play the golden eagle, and then I'm going to go digging. If the Kokoi heron is there by the time I come to picking up cards, then he's definitely going in my basket. But we'll see how it goes, and hopefully I'll build a chain from there. Like you say, with hummingbirds, you've always got a great chance of or a better chance than previously to, in round 1, dig a bit more and get some eggs, get some nectars, get some cards, and get an accelerated start, I think.
What's your bonus card of choice?
So yeah, I agree. I'm a bit torn. I would
You agree?
hummingbirds. I
Wow.
would always be going for bowl nests, always. But I think you're right with hummingbirds. I think I'd probably go Grasslands Ranger.
Going back to your Golden Eagle point, okay, we wanted to talk about this today, but we'll have to talk about it another time. I was, as I mentioned earlier, I was looking through the Monster Couch data. And so for those that are new to the pod, Stonemaier released a compilation of data from 500,000 online games towards the end of last year. And there's 500,000 online games. So Monster Couch are the company, I think, that develop or design or produce the online game. And so they basically, in this data, which we'll link in the show notes, ranked the different expansions and top birds from the different expansions. And I won't make the point I was planning on making today. We'll do that another time. But your Golden Eagle's not in your top 10 base game birds. But interestingly, birds which are in the top 5, American woodcock, Prothornitary warbler, and blue-winged warbler. Okay, these are 3 white powers that are worth the same or less points than the golden eagle, and can also only live in 2 habitats, exactly the same as the golden eagle, and yet for some reason these are a much higher win percentage than the golden eagle. Why do you think that is, Aidan? Because these birds, all their benefit is just for the points. They don't have any power associated with them, whereas the golden eagle is worth 8 points, plus you're no doubt going to get some tucks under it. So why do you think that those birds appear in the top 10 but the golden eagle doesn't?
So my thought goes to, if we're talking about top birds from the base game, does this mean top birds from the base game when you're using them with all the expansions included?
Yeah.
Or is it top birds from the base game when you're using them just when you're playing the base game?
No, with all the expansions included.
Okay, well there's my point gone then. But I was gonna make the point that, so I think when you're playing without nectar, clearly playing a bird with 3 rats is really difficult. And I remember, like I say, I've mentioned in recent weeks that I've played a few games with just the base game in recent months with teaching people the game, and you kind of forget how hard it is to play something that has 3 food costs until later on in the game. And obviously a brown power you want to be playing earlier in the game. So I can see that the golden, there's a real challenge with playing the golden eagle there. However, I think since Oceania and Nectar, and particularly since Americas and hummingbirds, where getting food is much easier, it's so much easier to play birds like the golden eagle or the kukui heron, where fish and rats, or the little penguin, these kind of higher and I suppose traditionally challenging food to get, i.e. fish and rats. But they're much easier to get now, and much easier to play these birds. So I don't know, particularly compared to the Prothornitary warbler, which has exactly the same 3 food cost and 8 points. I really don't understand why the golden eagle doesn't.
But
have a higher win
I think
percentage.
you're
It
right.
doesn't
It's
make
the
sense
food
to
is
me.
even with America's the food. With Oceania, the food is still easier to get if it's just a witchetty grub. You're far more likely to have a witchetty grub floating around than you are a rat. I agree with you. That's a good point. We've had a rare contribution from Harriet, my partner. With
no
respect
way.
to opening hands. Yeah. So I won't. I'm not allowed to say the first word she said. She said. Bleep hand with not much synergy.
Sounds like has. Potty mouth has.
Potty mouth has. Those Liverpool. Those Scousers, hey? So rude.
So apologies to all our Scouse listeners there. We just mean has.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Harriet is from Liverpool, for those that are not tuned to the show. Oh, who else should we offend this episode, Aidan?
I know, right? On an absolute rampage today.
There's a crossover. There's probably one listener from Liverpool who is unable to pronounce their R's, and they're feeling really targeted today, aren't they?
Really targeted.
So sorry. Okay, Harriet. Bleep hand with not much synergy. She's 100% keeping the yellow-rumped warbler as a card recycle in the trees and getting that out ASAP. And then probably going for the golden eagle as a point spinner in the wetlands. And then ideally pick up the kukui heron, but might not be there by the time it comes to my go. If that was the case, then I'd sack off the golden eagle and use it as tucking fodder for the warbler. My word, Harriet, you've done exactly what I would do.
There you go.
And then she's keeping the bowl nests. bonus card. So that's slightly different to what I'm doing. But interestingly, anyone else got anything different, Aidan?
So yeah, we've got a input from Paul, which is always very welcome. So Paul has said that he's keeping the Ranger bonus card because of hummingbirds, so the same reason. So he's going to keep the roadside hawk and put that in the grasslands again to help that. He's keeping the golden eagle, which is going in the water, and he's going to keep the warbler to try and get some food action going. So yeah, a kind of similar vein, really.
Interesting. And then he said, then I'm going to prove Adam wrong by creating the world's best grasslands chain. So thanks for that, Paul. Interesting. So not really much variation at all in what anyone's doing this week. I'd be interested if other people have other thoughts what they would do. And also let us know at the same time about what you'd like to do for next week's opening hand. So that will be episode 38.
Yeah, as always.
The link will be in the show notes. Email us. We are fulltuckpodcast@gmail.com, or pop an email at the bottom of the Spotify episode or anywhere else on YouTube, wherever you get our show notes. Shall we take a quick break, Aidan?
Sounds great. We'll come back in a minute.
Okay, welcome back to Full Tuck, the Wingspan podcast with me, Adam.
And me, Aidan. So we are, after a very lengthy chit-chat, which I think demonstrates that it's been a while since we've caught up, which has been really lovely, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it as well. But we're going to get on to some solid Wingspan stuff.
Some content.
Following from our Q&A, yes, some content. Following our Q&A episodes, which I really enjoyed, and I hope you guys did as well. We've had some lovely feedback, and we're going to hopefully get round to kind of responding to it on the show in the next few weeks. In particular, some of you might remember that probably one of my more enjoyable moments of the Q&A was when we talked a bit about ideas we would have for fan-made birds. And we came up with birds that we've mentioned recently on the show that we've quite enjoyed for a couple of different reasons. So Adam has discussed his ideas for the lilac-breasted roller, which is this beautiful bird from Africa that he saw whilst on safari, which is excellent. And then I talked about my ideas for the red-tailed black cockatoo, which is a really cool bird that I've seen at a sanctuary whilst here in Australia. We've had an email from Francois, or Lord Magus, as his Wingspan gamer name. So thank you so much for getting in touch, Francois. And he's been extremely cool in sending us some mock-ups for what some of our ideas for these cards might look like, and has also sent us what he's found, which is some alternative ideas for powers for these cards that he's found that have been made previously online, hasn't he?
Yeah, very diligently he's figured out that the birds that we'd come up with have already been made into fan-made expansions.
Someone's beat us to it.
Someone's beaten us to it. So I suppose, Aidan, the question is, so I mean, yours, the red-tailed black cockatoo, I think had 3 or 4 different fan-made expansions. Mine only had a couple. But what we'll do, I reckon, should we put them in we'll put links in the show notes, and we'll. What was your cockatoo's? Your cockatoo was quite unique, wasn't it? Again, I think it's worth repeating what your plan was for your cockatoo.
Yeah, so I had 2 ideas, and the red-tailed black cockatoo, an endangered bird, or one of the subspecies of it is the forest subspecies is an endangered bird. So I went down the endangered species or bonus card route with it. Maybe I was a little bit excited in giving it 9 points, but I gave it 9 points, and I had 2 ideas. So one idea would be draw 1 bonus card, then draw an additional bonus card for each food type in your supply that you have more of than any other player. So, for example, if you have more witch teas than any other player, then you could draw 2. If it's witch teas and wheats, then 3. And I thought the challenge of this card is it's going to cost you 3 food to play it. And at point of playing a card is probably the point at which you have not so much food. So you'd have to be in quite a kind of uniquely strong position to really make the most of this card, and then keep one and discard the rest. So that's why I guess I could justify giving it 9 points. But I think that being said, you could actually generate maybe 1 or 4 or 5, maybe 3 or 4 bonus cards if you did well with this, plus it being a 9-point bonus card. Pretty tough.
I think it's entirely justified. I mean, and Francois has very kindly made it into a bird, which we'll put on screen now, and we'll also put in the show notes.
It looks amazing as well. The card.
But I really like his point's really interesting as well. So he says, Aidan, your first idea for the cockatoo is interesting, as it is a high point bird that is actually better with a lower number of players. And he said, my impression is that usually these birds are better with higher numbers of players, which now flipping back to Adam, that's such a good point, actually, that this bird is much better in a 2-player game or 3-player game than it is in a 4 or 5-player game. Whereas he is right. Most of the birds are better in higher player numbers. You think about pink powers, etc.
Yeah.
You don't really get many birds that are the other way around, better in low player numbers. Even birds which are like steal food from both of your neighbours, that's clearly better in a higher player or at least a 3-player game rather than a 2-player game. So you've actually struck some. Maybe you planned this, Aidan. I don't know, but
maybe.
Francois hit the nail on the head. But then he goes on to say, I personally preferred the second idea.
Yeah, he did prefer the second idea. So the second idea was a bonus card, draw 1 bonus card, and then I think he's actually adjusted the idea that I took. So the idea that I had is that you then draw 1 bonus card for 1 additional bonus card for each remaining action cube you've got that kind of unplayed for that round. So you know, if you're playing it on your first go of the game, you're going to have 7 cubes remaining, so you'd be able to draw 8 bonus cards, which I agree is probably a little bit ridiculous. But then the idea was to try and encourage playing a bonus card earlier in the game rather than later in the game and kind of rolling the dice as to what you might get. You play it earlier, get a bonus card that you can then aim towards, which I think is probably a better way to use bonus cards. He's adjusted it slightly, I think probably to balance it a bit better than I thought through. So he said draw 1 bonus card, then permanently remove 1 of your action cubes from the game to draw as many bonus cards as you have cubes still in hand. Keep 1, discard the rest. So essentially it kind of balances it a bit better, because whilst playing it earlier is good because you might have more cubes remaining, if you're removing an action cube in round 1, that's really going to disadvantage you. I don't know, what do you think about that, Adam? I think it nerfs it a bit too much.
I think there's a sweet spot somewhere in the middle, I would say, maybe, which sort of gives you more of a decreasing benefit per round that you give it in, per round that you play it in. For example, draw 4 bonus cards if you play it in round 1, 3 in round 2, 2 in round 3, and 1 in round 4. That might be sort of a simpler way.
True. I think what I quite liked, and maybe what Francois... Sorry, go on.
Yeah. What's really interesting is this one that he sort of adjusted for you. He's written, you can only use wheats and or cherries to pay for this bird's food cost, which is such a nice little twist. You can't use nectar presumably because it's such a fussy bird. That's a really good twist. So maybe you could use that plus keep your power. So to make it really hard trio of food, you can't use nectar, and then you can still keep your power. That might be a good way to do it.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. You use it. I mean, first of all, it really cleverly plays on this kind of interesting feature of the bird that it's very fussy eater. And plus, I mean, cherries these days, or berries, cherries, whatever you like to call it.
Death of the cherry.
Really hard, aren't they? Because they're only on the same side of the dice as nectar. I find I very rarely have them, unless you know a many coloured fruit dove or a Baltimore Oriole appears, then they often don't appear in the game. So I think that's a really good way of making it a very hard bird to play. Plus, you don't get the advantage of the nectars going to the spent nectar space. So could be a really cool way to balance it.
And what's really cute, I don't know if you've noticed, Aidan, when on the What Francis made, we've got a little full tuck logo in the bottom corner to say that it's from our expansion pack, which is lovely. But the red-tailed black cockatoo has actually been produced in the Australian Aves fan-made expansion pack as well, which has been around for quite a while. And so if I read it out to you, Aidan, see what you think about this. So it is effectively exactly the same food cost. It's still worth 6 points, but it's a flocking when activated power. When activated, tuck 1 from your hand behind this bird. If you do, gain 1 wheat from the supply. If the tucked bird has a wheat in its food cost, also lay 1 egg on this bird.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I thought that was cool. It's a nice power. It's something we've not really seen before. Maybe it's a bit of a variation of things we've seen before, particularly recently with fan packs in Americas, where you're actually taking account of what bird you tuck. Rather than just tucking anything, basically. So I think that was quite I really like that power. I think it's very cool.
It's very nice.
Well done to whoever came up with that.
It would get you a wheat and an egg as well.
Which could be really strong. And a tuck, really
strong. So actually, it's a very strong bird. But I think, as you say, it's a rare bird, isn't it? It's
very cool. So it needs a strong power. And then we had your lilac-breasted roller, didn't we? Which he's very, very kindly made into another really cool-looking card. The art.
We're going to put them on the screen. My word, guys. That is beautiful, isn't it? That is exactly how I remember it. And the thing about the lilac-breasted roller is that it's always almost doing these... barrel rolls. Is that why it's called a roller? It's sort of not quite barrel rolls, but when you see it, it's always flying at about, when I saw it, maybe head height or just above head height, and it's doing this. It's almost like a half barrel roll. So you're always seeing the underside of it, then it flips. You see the top side of it, then it flips again. You see the underside, and it's the underside. It's the underside that's got the beautiful color. The image on this fan-made version really encapsulates that beautifully. Maybe this is the power that I'd said at the time. I don't remember it. I'll be completely honest. But it's once during your turn. It's a lovely color green, Francois. Thank you. I think we're really onto something here with a once during your turn green power. Once during your turn, if you reset the bird feeder, immediately cash one from the bird feeder on this bird. I can't remember if that's what I'd said. I would actually do something like it be, because that's quite a lot like lots of the pink powers that we've used or come across, at least in the fan-made expansions in Americas. I would actually do something like every time you do the get eggs action, also draw one card. Or every time you do the lay eggs action, you may tuck to draw on any flocking bird. Does that make sense? Rather than just as simple as cash from the bird feeder on this bird. That's a bit Weckery, it's a bit Wecker-esque and it's a bit too powerful. But I'd just like it to be a little bit more nuanced, maybe, and something that you can plan for a bit better. So maybe I'd do it each time you do the action rather than reset the bird feeder. What do you think, Aidan?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that we've definitely seen quite an influx of birds that are, first of all, pink powers that activate when the bird feeder is reset, which I think we can agree, and we've talked about before, are really strong. So something like the Ruddy Ground Dove, or something like the Wecker, which are like pure point spinners rather than resource gaining. It'd be quite cool to see this green power used. And I'm sure, if there's an iteration of this that appears in the game, there would be both pure point spinners and resource gainers. But I agree, it'd be quite cool to see them resource gaining, I think.
Yeah. I think
another way of getting out of habitat resources, essentially.
They were quite common as well, so you'd have to lower the points a little bit, I reckon, for it as well. But absolutely beautiful bird, lovely colour of green, Francois. Thank you so much, Francois, for that, and love the little full tuck logo in the bottom corner. And then this is what he'd found for us of what the fan-made expansion that's already out. So it's Vanessa, who is What the Yams on Reddit, is her Reddit _ What the Yams. And Lilac-Breasted Roller, it's an at any time. So this is lilac power, purple power, at any time.
Lilac,
the first... Probably is. At any time, the first time you play a bird with a when played power in your grasslands after this one, you may use its power twice. Very nice idea for a power, and also challenging, because you can't just play this bird and hope you're then going to play a when played power in your grasslands, which is good. To play the Lilac-Breasted Roller, in this scenario, you should already have a card in your hand which you know you're going to activate twice. Otherwise, it's just a pretty blind play. I think I like that power because it's a nice balance between pre-planning and risk-taking.
Yeah, it's also obviously it's a relatively high point bird in itself, which I'm not sure, because I think that's quite a powerful power. If you combine that with, like, I don't know, like a Plains Wanderer, if you play it towards the end and you're picking one of 5 bonus cards and you get to do that twice, then I think that's really strong. I think to assign it what essentially means you get essentially another, its power is essentially you're using it as another bonus card bird, but you're doing it at a more prime time later on in the game. So I would maybe lower its points, I think, with that power. I think that's maybe a bit too strong. But I like the idea of the power, and I like the idea of the flexibility it gives you. And I also like the fact that it's a lilac power with the Lilac-Breasted Roller. That's quite a nice thing.
I'd encourage everyone to go and have a look at them. Francois, thank you so much for emailing in.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And sending us those. I think we've run out of time, Aidan. We're going to have to move all the things we planned to speak about this week to next week. How does that sound?
Hey, but look, this is good. We've got a lot of fun stuff planned for you guys, and if anything is a teaser to come back next week, I think that is. We've got lots of fun stuff next time. We're going to have another opening hand for you guys. We've got lots of other feedback and emails that we've had from you guys, as well as some really interesting kind of Hall of Fame plays. We'll have a bit more chit chat next time. How does that sound, Adam?
Sounds good. So just remember, guys, please like us, follow us, subscribe to us so that our shows immediately end up in your inbox. And then if you want to get in contact, please do. We absolutely love hearing from you. We are fulltuckpodcast@gmail.com, or just give us a follow on the socials. You see teasers for the shows on the socials, and occasionally we post extra content there too. So we're on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks, guys. Aidan, I'll see you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. See you then, and see you all next time. Lovely. Cheers. Bye-bye.